So good morning, everyone. We're happy to be here today again, 15th of December, 2022, trying to close the year on a good note. I hope you all can hear me, please.
Yes, we can.
Please mute your mic, please. Hello, everyone. Please mute your mic. Thank you. So today we'll be discussing the new CBN cash withdrawal limit, which is currently a subject of controversy for people in different sectors. The politicians have their views, the bankers have their views, different people have their views, and then traders have their own views because their business is particularly cash intensive. So we're going to be looking at specifically the tax implications for traders, but then we'll be discussing it in different sections so that we can bring up a wholesome idea and then be able to delve into all the various issues, both tax, accounting, operational, banking, and all that. So moving on, we'll be discussing this topic under different content, under different sections. So the first one will be discussing the new CBN policy itself, the highlights. Olumide Balogun from EcoBank will give us the highlights from a banker perspective. So we can talk our own, but then the specialist will be able to give us more details. Then after that, we're going to bring in Osita from Trade Fair Complex. We all know Trade Fair Complex is a renowned place for traders, renowned market hub. So he's going to give us like the trader perception of the new policy and then their tax outlook. Then after that, Magnus, who is a trader consultant, will also give us the consultant's perspective to trader challenges or to trader perception. Let's hear from someone who is a consultant and who does trading at the same time. Then after that, I'll be taking the session on tax implications of the new policy for traders and then how they can possibly manage them. Then Fola Shade will be taking us through taxation of the informal sector in Lagos. So she does a lot of taxation for market hubs, and they call it Ibile Hub. That's the Lagos acronym for the different market hubs, which she will explain. So we'll be looking at all of these topics, this particular theme under all of these topics, so that we can develop a robust idea and a robust discussion around it for the benefit of traders today. So thank you everyone for coming in. Thank you to all our panelists. So our first, all our speakers, sorry. So thank you, Olumide, for coming on this program. We really appreciate it. Then you're going to be taking us through the banker perspective of the new CBN withdrawal policy. We have noted some highlights, which is available on the next slide, but then you're going to help us explain it properly from a banker perspective. Olumide, the floor is yours. Thank you so much. Olumide is the country head SME at EcoBank PLC. So I think he's the best person to help us discuss this from the banker perspective and how it will also impact SMEs and traders in the market hub. Olumide, you're welcome to the show. The floor is yours. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Please confirm if I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so again, my name is Olumide Balogun. I work with EcoBank Nigeria. I am the country head for our SME business in Nigeria. It's a real pleasure to be here this morning to speak about this new withdrawal limits of cash in Nigerian economic sector. I would like to start my discussion by referring us back a bit about some of the pronouncements regarding the monetary policy within the Nigerian economy. Let's take it back to the era when we actually began the cashless policies of this federal government. Right? In the first instance, the first thing that this policy highlights is the identity of every party that is indulging in economic transactions within the economy of Nigeria. And that started with the BVN issue. You will recall when BVN came, a bit of us were a bit confused as to the reasoning behind the introduction of BVN. Largely, I want to agree with the policymakers that the BVN has helped significantly. Number one, in identifying every party involved in economic transactions, especially that which is passing through the financial sector. Right. Beyond the BVN, we also had, again, another policy from the CBN, which is referred to as the GIS. What that intends to do is to also be able to tie every transaction that a customer of a bank with Bank A. If you go to Bank B, the GSI that when there is a need, if and when there is a need. I will not want to dwell on the purpose of this call. But lastly, we also had recently the CBN coming out to say we are going to redesign the Naira. When the redesigning of the Naira came on board, a lot of us already had an anticipation that this test policy will be strengthened for of Naira designs. And that's exactly where it is now. So now, this is where we are now. There are new pronouncements on the cashless society, on the cashless policy of the CBN. As stated here on the displayed slide, effective 9 November 2023. Oh, I think this effective date is incorrect. All right. The new Naira note is coming on board, but in terms of the implementation of the cash withdrawal limits, that is coming on board earlier in 2023 and not November. And what is said is that the cash amount that every party can draw is 20,000 Naira daily and weekly 100,000 over the counter. Okay, so what does it mean to the banking sector and to the economy? Number one, it means that one, we're going to have less cash, all right, flowing through. And when we have less cash, what does it imply? To the banking industry, one, it's a huge step towards reduction in costs of operations. You will recall that if you go to this, we have several people employed as tellers to either count, that's to take in cash, or to pay out cash. We also, beyond that, have units that
Hello, Lumide. Hello. I think your internet is unstable. Hello? Okay, I think Olumide's internet just went off, so we'll just hang on a bit for him.
Okay, so sorry, I'm back.
Okay, welcome
I had
back.
a slight glitch. Okay, thank you. All right, so but for the SME or for the business out there, what does this cash limits, what does it entail? Number one, it means that going forward, we are going into digitalization. We are going to a digitized economy, wherein every business person would be mandated somehow or will be coerced into the use of digital transactions or digital platforms to do their transactions, to do their payments, to do their collections. And if we all look into the effect of this digitization so far, you will understand that one, it's a means to actually secure your transactions. When you have transaction with anybody and it's done digitally, there is what we call identification. There is what we call audit trail. So at any point in time, you can make reference to these transactions without blinking because the records will always be there. So that is one. Number two, it aids easy reconciliation. Oh, apologies, my network seems to be.
Oh, go ahead.
Hello? Okay. So this ease of reconciliation. Ease of reconciliation in the sense that when you go through your statement, it becomes easy for you to identify who has done what happened in terms of your financial. Three, it also reduces costs significantly for major SME names wherein we operate in markets. The cost of cash processing is also very, very significant. Sometimes we have some of us employing cashiers to count our cash. We count and count and recount and recount, and then we take it to the bank. We take it to the bank, we deposit. Man hours are wasted in that process. And then at the point where you also need cash, we go to the bank. Some of us will go and queue in the bank for hours and then bring the cash back. So in processing, there is a lot of wastages when the cash withdrawal cost, because by then you will be operating digitally and all those man-hour wastage will be cut off. Beyond man-hour wastages, the issue of security, which is also very, very relevant or prevalent in the Nigerian economy as of today, will be largely addressed. Some of us are in the market there. We do sales. After sales, we're even scared of taking the money across the road to go to the bank. And at the same time, we're scared of having this cash retained in our own premises, one way or the other. But when we all move into this digitized economy, surely that concern of security will be largely addressed, because your customers don't have so much cash on them. So when they are coming to you, they're not going to be paying you cash. Instead, you have transfers, you have any form of digital payments, maybe via card or via transfers, right? So issue of security is partly addressing that. The issue of kidnapping, ransom, payment, demands, and all those stuff is they are largely addressed with of the CBN. So for us, it's a welcome development. It is something that we are willing everybody is willing to support based on the merits that this cashless policy brings to the bank, or brings to the society. Yes, we do know also that there are a lot of SME out there that probably the cost of their trade actually involved cash a lot. For instance, we look at all those in agency banking, but statistics have also shown that 80–90% of people patronizing agency banking have their transactions usually less than 20,000. So it means that only a few percentage of people that are dealing with this agency banking stuff will be affected, maybe less than 10%. The bulk of the customers, of the users of agency banking have their transactions below 20,000. That's what statistics have shown to us. So that's being said, it then means that significantly the cashless policy of the CBN meant well for the economy. Now let's also talk about the value of the Naira. The simple law of demand and supply says that when a commodity is scarce, it becomes, the price of it goes up, all right? And that is not out of context in this cashless policy too.
Thank you very much, Olumide, for that insightful and robust background around this new CBN withdrawal limit. So I think at some point your presentation, the recording for your presentation cut off. I think just about 2 to 3 minutes towards the end. So apologies to those who will be watching us on YouTube, who will be watching the recorded version on YouTube. You would have missed out some 2 to 3 minutes of Olumide's final words. So apologies for that. So, and then yes, you're correct. Actually, this is a typo error. The circular will be effective, or these new limits, withdrawal limit will be effective from 9 January 2023. Please, if you're watching, apologies for that typo. It's not 9th November. It's actually 9 January 2023. Then I'll just run through the highlights or high points of the CBN letter to banks. The CBN letter to banks was sent out, I think, 6th of December, just this month, 6th of December. So we're going to rush through the highlights of the CBN new CBN withdrawal limit that will be taking effect from 9th January 2023 for the benefit of people who have not seen the letter or seen the CBN policy. But I think most of our banks have started sending out these messages to us. So effective next year, January, individuals can only withdraw a maximum cash amount of 100,000 Naira weekly over the counter and 20,000 Naira daily. Corporate organizations who have corporate accounts will be able to withdraw a maximum of 500,000 Naira weekly, and then 20,000 Naira, 500,000 weekly. So CBN needs to confirm whether it's 20,000 Naira daily for corporate, because it wasn't specifically stated in the letter. Then CBN is also saying that if you must do, maybe in compelling circumstances, you must do more than this required limits, either as an individual or as a corporate body that holds a corporate account, corporate bank account, you can actually do it. But the understanding on the letter, even though there are still some gray areas, is that you cannot do this excess more than once a month. And if you're doing it that once a month, it shouldn't exceed 5 million for individuals and 10 million for corporate bodies. In addition, you have to pay processing fees at 5% of the amount for individuals and 10% for corporate organizations. And in addition to, before you get this excess of the approved limits, you will go through enhanced due diligence procedures, and you will submit some other documentations that were mentioned, some approvals from the directors, from the bank manager or MD, something like that. I can't remember all of it, but those documents are listed in the CBN letter. And further, CBN says that both individuals and corporate account holders cannot withdraw or cash a check of more than 50,000 naira over the counter anymore, and that the clearing limit still remains 10 million naira. So you can send a check to clearing that is still up to 10 million naira, even when these limits have taken effect. Then maximum cash withdrawals via ATM will be 100,000 naira per week and 20,000 naira per day. So there is no distinction between corporate account holders and the individuals, but we know that ATM withdrawals are usually mostly done by individuals, unless you have a corporate, let's say, admin card that you're using to do petty cash, something like that. But then it says generally you can't do more than 100,000 naira per week or 20,000 naira per day via ATM. And then you cannot also do POS withdrawal, point of sale withdrawal, in excess of 20,000 naira daily. So another thing that the CBN or the banker expert in our midst will need to clarify is if he's still around by the time we're taking questions, because I understand he has another meeting very shortly. Is CBN saying that we can do the 100,000 over the counter and do another 100,000 via ATM, and then do another 20,000 naira via POS? Because from the consultant's perspective, as we're reading it, we're trying to find ways, to navigate this new policy. So if it is not something that is clearly stated, we'll just assume that, yes, I can do, from these three channels, the different limits. Otherwise, the CBN, as the circular takes effect, as the policy takes effect, we'll begin to see how it plays out, or the CBN will come out with more sensitization and tell us exactly what they mean. So in order not to spend more time on that section, because our time is actually very limited, we're going to jump in directly into the next session, which will be taken by none other than Osita Haruna Dozie, the Administrative Secretary, International Center for Commerce, Trade Fair Complex, Lagos. We all know Trade Fair is a renowned market hub that have, it's a home for very big traders whose businesses are very, very cash intensive. So Osita will be sharing the perception, the perspective of traders to this, how do they view this CBN policy, and then what are the challenges they envisage or even opportunities, and then the tax outlook on this new policy. Then I think Osita is here to come online. I understand he's actually traveling today. So, and he's trying to multitask the two activities. So we're very grateful for that. While we wait for Osita to log in, we're going to jump into Magnus's section. Magnus is a consultant, the partner and co-founder at LAPJ Payroll Technicians and VM Professional Solutions. So Magnus wears many caps. He also does trading on a part-time basis. So how is he going to, what is his own response or his own views of this CBN's new policy from a consultant to trader perspective? So his topic and that of Osita Dozie are quite similar. It's just that Osita will be looking at it from a proper trader perspective, the trader in the market, or while Magnus will be looking at it from a consultant trader perspective, like if, assuming every trader were to be like a consultant or a tech person like Magnus, how would they perceive this new CBN policy? Does he have advice, to help the traders to manage the perceived challenges, since he wears both caps? So Magnus will now lead us in this section while we wait for Osita Dozie. Magnus, you're welcome. I now yield the floor to you. Thank you very much.
Can come into the business, we're able to bring in certain knowledge and certain indices. I share one experience. There was a time I had someone who wanted to buy 13 pieces of various Toyota branded engines, because those were automobile parts that I brought in. One individual trying to buy 13 pieces of engines, and none of those engines, as at that time, was less than 380,000 naira. And this guy was ready to pay cash because he's largely a cash business. And you say, no, go to the bank and pay. He says, no, I don't do banking. I will bring the money here and I will give to you. And this is in Ladipo. And on that day, this was around 4 p.m. So meaning if I collect that cash, I would have the responsibility of carrying millions of money, to come back home, because by 4 p.m. I can't access the bank. The market is going to close by 5:30, 6 p.m., but the bank's closed by 6. So I told him, look, we can't do that transaction today. So he had to sign an undertaking, go home, then come back the next day. So one of the major challenges that traders are going to be facing is the education of what digital banking or electronic banking or formal banking will entail. So both the CBN, both the commercial banks, and both the financial, regulators have got a lot of work to educate. Mind you, most of these guys are actually very educated. They are very knowledgeable. They can count their money. They may not have a certificate, but they are educated, they are knowledgeable. They've been in the 4 walls of one form of school or the other. So there has to be education, which is one of the major challenges. We need to be able to educate them, to let them understand that this thing is not targeted at their business or targeted at their operation, but rather that it is for their own good, for their own safety. So you can imagine in that scenario or explanation that I gave, if I had collected the cash, I'll be sitting with what? Over 5 million naira, by 4 p.m. And that means I have to bring the cash home because I don't even have an office or a marketplace an office in the market. So I have to bring the cash home. And you can imagine commuting in the morning, commuting that evening home and then going back. So another problem we would have with this restriction is, so with the education comes trust issue. So education will help bridge the gap. So they're twofold. You have to educate so that the trust level that the SMEs, the small traders, the market women, and those who are yet to be banked, the trust level can begin to go up. So as the education is done, chances are that the trust level begins to increase. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, is that failed transactions will happen. So you can imagine situations where someone walks into your business or your store, or you're buying a tomato from the roadside, and you're telling the woman you're going to make a transfer, and you make a transfer, and for 1 hour, the seller has not received the credit alert, and you're standing there, and you don't have all of the day. So the banks, the CBN in particular, have got to find a way to improve on that infrastructure so that when digital banking is fully, completely embraced and this cash restriction is in place, people can then, when you make an electronic transaction or payment, it hits your seller's account immediately, and that deal is closed instantly, and the buyer can walk away, because I'm not going to allow someone walk away with my goods if I've not received the notification. And like Olumide said, yes, the financial industry will give you opportunity to be able to track. So we can track, but if I don't see the credit alert on my own bank account, I'm not going to allow any buyer walk away with my goods. So we need to begin to get that. And if we have situations where those transactions failed and it's taking 1 week, it's taking 2 days, it's taking a long time for you to be able to get notification, businesses begin to fail. Some of those goods are actually perishable goods. They begin to lose value in the hands of the owner or the seller. The person buying or the customer, on the other hand, will be having challenges, because you can imagine, it's happened to me before, that you walk into a supermarket where you need to buy something and all the POS system in the bank is down, and the supermarket is telling you, we don't allow or accept transfers to the bank. And when you ask why, which is my third comment, is that they say, they are scammers, they are false transactions. So there has to be a lot of education. The CBN and all the commercial banks and all the digital, international, pockets of microfinance banks in the country have got to improve on their infrastructure level so that the platform can be relied upon to consume or complete a transaction. Because if it fails, I can't sell. If I can't sell, the person buying does not have goods to or products to go do his business or feed. And if the goods stay longer than necessary in my hands, it becomes obsolete. So those are some of the challenges that has filtered down. False transaction, trust and education issues, failed transactions, then scammers. So the CBN, why we agree that this cashless policy has got a bigger role to play in the wider network in Nigeria, these salient points have got to be dealt with, because the MSMEs or the SMEs forms a larger chunk of the Nigerian populace. One other key thing that Osita also shared is that, with the influx of POS system, so many young people now have transactions. So when you walk into certain market hubs around the state or around the country, and you are out of cash, you're quick to tell your seller to say, please, where is the POS person? You hear them shouting, POS, POS, POS. And the next you see somebody jogging and running towards you with a small bag and a POS machine on the hand, and you're able to withdraw money. So if the policy is saying that I can only do 20,000 a day, what that means is that the interest, the value, the profit that POS holder in itself is making in a day will now start reducing, meaning it will no longer be viable, it will no longer be business as usual. Certain categories of people in that business would end up trying to look for something else to do, whatever they find their hands doing. The government of the day needs to worry about that. So that challenge is there. And I dare say that there is no policy that you make in the world or in the country today that there won't be people in the negative side. So that's taken. But would there be people who would suffer these policy changes? Yes, those POS merchants who help us with quick cash when we're in the market, when we want to buy something that we didn't plan for, or when we run out of cash, and your trader is not accepting a bank transfer or wants cash. Those categories of individuals will be running out of business, because the business will no longer be able to profit them. So those are some of the points Osita has shared with me. I'm hoping that before the end of this webinar, he may come in and maybe share other perspective with us. So from my own perspective, I'm supposed to share from a consultant, a consultant perspective, how can we help mitigate some of this challenge? And again, it has to start with education. The CBN, the regulatory authorities, and I dare say the tax authorities, both the FIRS and both the Lagos State Inland Revenue. Osita has joined. I see Osita signed in now. I think his audio is trying to connect. So I'll just carry on for 2 minutes, waiting for his audio to connect, because we're mindful of time as well. Then I can yield back to him. Okay, Osita, can you hear us now? Hello, Osita. All right, so while we're waiting for Osita to come ahead, some of the things we've talked about, which is how these trader challenges can be managed from a consultant perspective. And I can categorize this into about 4 key areas. One of the areas will be compliance and legislation. So from a compliance perspective, every trader as at today needs to be able to evaluate their business. Is your business a registered entity in Nigeria today? If yes, there are certain benefits that would accrue to you, and you necessarily don't need to worry about the cash restriction. If your business is not registered, you then also need to understand and then put certain structures in place for you to be able to do your business. So the first thing for every trader to be able to mitigate or manage this cash restriction is to ask themselves, what type of business structure do they have? So for instance, we're all aware that if your business is registered and your annual turnover is less than 25 million, you do not pay any tax. You do not pay CIT. If your business is registered and your annual turnover is between 25 million and 100 million, you pay a certain amount. You pay about 20% tax. Then if it is above 100 million, you pay about 30%. Please, let us understand it. You do not pay tax on your annual turnover. You do not pay tax on the total money that comes into your business. You pay tax on your profit. You need to be able to understand that your profit will be less your approved expenses that you have incurred genuinely, wholly, reasonably, exclusive, and necessary for you to have been able to make that revenue. So when you back out all your expenses, whatever is left is what you will pay tax on. But for us, for the tax authority to be able to determine in which tax bracket you fall into, they are actually looking at your total revenue. So people should not be afraid of payment of tax. It's one thing to pay tax, it's another thing to ask the government, what are you using my tax money for? So those are two different things. I think it's a statutory responsibility for every individual, for every organization to pay tax. But your tax is on the profit that you have made. So let's understand that. So that's one. So two, we then need to manage our cash flow. I was listening to some group of individuals speak the other day, and they were saying, if the new policy kicks in from 9th of January 2023, hoping that the CBN still sticks to their guns, because I know they met with the National Assembly yesterday, and there were discussions for them to step down. But if they still go ahead with this policy, some individuals may decide that as soon as people pay them the little cash that they get on a daily basis, rather than sweep the money into the bank, they will keep the cash and then begin to use the cash to carry out their day-to-day operations. So that risk exists. But the problem with that is that you're not exposed to some other, theft, some other, high blood pressure concern, because when you begin to have so much money in your house, you're beginning to look at putting certain kind of defenses, gates, security personnel, safe, and what have you. The banking system is still the ultimate goal. So cash flow has got to be managed. So you need to manage your cash flow. One of the ways you can manage your cash flow is to have a good accounting system. If you have a good software in the business, you're able to know, what cash is coming in, what cash is going out, what cash is sitting where, and even when the revenue authority comes to knock on your door, you're able to generate on the spot, at the click of a button, the relevant reports that you can put before the officer to say, look, you need to leave my office premises. I don't have any business with you. My transaction is less than 25 million. So I can't entertain you. Or in any case, if you've done over 25 million and they are asking for ridiculous or certain tax amounts, you can actually do it yourself. Say, look, I've done less than 100 million. My tax is X, and it's not yet ready for me to pay. I'll pay as at this other time. So there is also the tax perspective. While as a business, we encourage people to pay tax, but as like I've said earlier, we only pay tax on the profit we've made, or on the revenue or the income you have earned. If you are a private individual, and I know the Lagos State Revenue Authorities are here, they are going to be sharing some additional benefits that registered businesses can get in view of the new policy and how they are able to manage some of those who operate in the trading hubs. So, but from a tax perspective, what would then happen is that because a number of activities are now going to be going on the digital platform, increasingly people who previously are not known to the revenue authorities or known to the banking industry will now begin to come upstream. This would have a huge impact on such businesses, because whether we like it or not, almost everybody does one form of electronic banking or the other, and there are stamp duty charges. So we're already paying some of these charges, and we do not know. For every transaction or every deposit that hits your bank account, there's a deduction that goes out. So I've been notified that I've run out of time. I know Osita is here. So thank you very much, Vivian. I'll still stand by for more questions if at the end of the day. But Osita is here. Maybe you want to yield back to him to give us some additional perspective. Thank you very much, Vivian.
Thank you, Magnus. Thank you for all those insights. So as a trader and a consultant, I don't know how you manage it, but you just told us, just giving us a bit of insights as to how you combine both. So we're going to welcome Osita now. Osita Dozie is the Administrative Secretary, International Center for Commerce, Trade Fair Complex, Lagos. He had a bit of challenges logging in, but he's here now. So he's going to talk about, the perception of traders about this new CBN policy, the cash withdrawal limit, and then how they perceive it will impact taxes for them. So Osita, welcome. We are running out of time, so I'll just yield the floor to you. Please share your perspectives. Thank you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Sorry for joining late. Hello.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Go ahead.
I just have to speak majorly on two issues. The first is communication, and the second one is tax, just like Oga has been talking about tax. When I talk about communication here, we have issues about network connection. You can send somebody money, you can transfer money to somebody, and the person will tell you that he has not received the money. It can take 1 or 2 days, and this will delay the transaction. So what I'm thinking is, I don't know the arrangements that the CBN made with Nigeria Communications Commission to make sure that this is seamless, because we have had cases in the International Center for Commerce where people come and say, report, I transferred money to him since 3 days ago. He's telling me he has not received it. They go to the bank. The sender's bank will say, we have sent the money. Then the person who's supposed to receive the money will go to his bank. The bank will say, there's no money here, and there's no alert. And it creates a problem, creates some kind of a mistrust, and it delays the entire transaction. So the major problem, one of the major challenges is this communication issue. If they can sort out the network issue so that bank transactions can be seamless, it wouldn't create bottlenecks for other people. Then secondly, on the issue of tax, our people are not well educated on tax matters. They don't know a lot on tax. So they need people to educate them on tax, because this one now is creating fear, this central bank policy. There are people who don't engage much in online banking or internet banking. But with this new CBN policy, they must have to go through the banks to make their transactions. And many of them are afraid that now that they must pass through the banks. Bearing in mind that FIRS has the power to look into every account, that FIRS will now jump in, know exactly everything they are doing, and begin to tax them more than, in this country, many people don't pay tax, even some business people. And even few of them that pay, some of them under-declare in the assessment form. So they are afraid that this new policy now will expose them to the tax authorities, and they will have to be taxed now appropriately, more than they were being taxed before. So that is the issue. They need education there. But I've heard a guy talking about the amount of money you have before you are taxed and all that. We have to do that. Thirdly, the issue of this cash withdrawal, cash at hand. So many traders feel that it needs to be increased, maybe on personal level from 20,000 to 50,000, on a business level from 100,000 to maybe 250 or 200,000. Because whether we like it or not, our economy has not developed to that level where everybody will do banking transaction. We still have people in this country who don't have bank accounts, and they are traders and they are business people. That is why you see people burying money in sockaway piece and packing them in cupboards. So we still need to educate them so that they will have to get into the banking system. But while doing that, many traders are complaining that 20,000, going to the bank every day to withdraw 20,000 is very burdensome. And they're not happy about it. So the request is that if it can be increased to some certain amount, a bigger amount, both corporate and individual, so that they don't need to be going every day to the bank for one transaction or the other. Because if you go to buy things from the market, it's not everybody in the market that has an account that you transfer to. If you go to buy pepper, if you go to buy tomato, if you go to buy yams, you must have to pay all these in cash. And if you don't have the cash, it is not all these traders that have accounts that will say transfer to me. Even some will say, no, give me the cash. So that is the challenge of cash at hand. It needs to be increased so that people will have more money in hand. Instead of 20,000 for individuals, it can be made 50,000 or 100,000 per week. Then instead of 100,000 for companies per week, it can be made 1 million per week or 500,000. So this will help the people to run their businesses seamlessly, even when the banking transaction side is still going on. I think these are the major things I have to say on this for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, OC. That was very, very elaborate, but then straight to the point. So really thank you for coming to this webinar to give us your perspective as someone who is in the game, in the market, and knows your daily challenges. That network issue is a problem. Even I, when we all go to market, we experience it, you know, so it's a challenge. Someone was commenting that CBN would have, you know, that they usually do things like this. They just bring out policy, not only CBN, some government or parastatals in this country, they just bring out policy and then they start working around how it will work instead of doing the other one first, putting the cart before the horse. But your concerns are noted. Luckily, we're recording this webinar. We're going to share it online so that the authorities will also hear. And then that sensitization issue, both sensitization on digital technology, financial technology, how to use other avenues for payment. Banks need to do more about that. Fintech companies need to do more. Tax authorities need to do more to train. So, but we're going to highlight some taxes that traders are actually expected to pay here. On the withdrawal limit, the corporate is 500,000 naira actually per week, but they didn't say how much they can withdraw per day. But there are other questions too that Olumide will help us answer once we get to the question section. So I'll just thank you once again, Dossier Osita, and thank you, Magnus, for your views. I'll just jump into, I can see people are raising hands. Please, we'll get to the question section, and then you can ask your questions or make your comments so that we don't lose too much time. So just hold the thoughts. And I'll just go into potential tax implications of the new policy. As Osita rightly said, yeah, there are agitations, yes, because there will be more visibility. So I'll just jump into agitations around tax and visibility to FRS and other tax authorities. So yes, that is correct. So I'll just jump into them, some of the taxes that are applicable, some of the considerations, and then how to manage them. So considerations for the new policy, of course, the previous speakers have pointed to them. Trading in cash means that you're offline, you're not really visible to the taxman. And then there are other cash intensive businesses like restaurants, people who trade in smaller price goods. They can have customers coming in to give them cash, which they can keep. And if they want, they can use it to carrying out their transaction, because this policy is just, you know, the limit on how much you can withdraw from a bank, but it doesn't place a limit on how much cash you can hold. But as Magnus explained earlier, it's not really wise to keep holding cash like that. You might want to bank it at some point. So if you're comfortable holding cash as a trader, then and you're receiving cash from customers, then that's okay. You don't have an immediate issue to worry about. Then if you don't have enough cash, if there's no free flow of cash, or you sell in highly priced goods, let's say motor parts, and you can't get motor parts, how many of them do they sell for 20,000? They're not many. Then you need to find or learn and adopt alternate payment methods. There's e-Naira, there's USSD, there's POS, bank transfers. Of course, internet has to be there now for somebody to be able to do all of this. Then one crucial thing is if you want to take advantage of the corporate account limit, the corporate account limit is higher, it's 500,000 per week. If you want to take advantage of it, then you need to open a business bank account. That means you need to register your business first. You need to get a tax identification number. So for people who have not registered their business, this is going to be a problem. You can't open a corporate account in your business name without registering your business with the CAC. So you have to consider registering your business. Also, other benefits like getting the POS from bank, you need to be a merchant, like a corporate account to be able to get it. Then bank accounts and bank transactions, digital transactions, means more visibility, like Osita rightly said, trackability. Tax authorities can also track your transactions through NIBS, through BVN, or anything that goes through the bank or any digital platform can be tracked. So that's for sure, that's given. And because it can be tracked, then you need to explain. For us here, it's very easy to say, I did not get this money that is coming to my account is not income, because taxes are levied on your incomes. So this one is not income. This one is maybe credit from someone. Someone don't need cash, or this is cash, family cash, or maybe something like that. But you need to have a place where you are explaining it in your. That's why you need to keep proper accounting records. Then another thing might not be too pleasant for people, but then you just have to pay tax to avoid penalties. Pay tax as and when due. Then you need to plan your taxes. Planning your taxes to avoid rather than evade. There are consultants who can help you plan very well so that you're paying the minimum taxes. You're doing things that there are things that are tax-free or tax-exempt in this country. So if you know them, you'll be able to pay towards them. That's what I mean by tax planning, so that you don't incur too much taxes. So these are the considerations. They had shared some of the pros and cons of this new policy. But for traders specifically, we're seeing that some advantages, yes, there will be more financial inclusion. Let's just say by some miracle, everybody just adapt within 1 or 2 months to this digital bank or digital transactions, banking transactions. Then that means for every trader, maybe in the market, maybe pepper sellers will have mobile wallets, will have a bank account, it will be good anyway for financial inclusion, makes the economy grow, makes the economy more enlightened, that they will stop in Africa, the Black continent. So we can embrace digital technology more. It will help us to grow as a nation. Then, there's some advantages too, is that you don't have to carry cash anymore. You don't have to be afraid of theft. You don't have to go into shop every day. You don't have to be in the shop every day because you need to keep an eye on your goods and on your cash. And you don't have to be worried. What if this market burns? My money will burn, something like that. And then you as a business owner, another advantage is that you can have visibility over your transactions. You may have forgotten some things. The brain can only keep so much information. So forgetting some things, you just open up your banking app, or get your bank statements. The transactions will be there, the records will be there, or POS statements, or if you're using e-Naira, get your e-Naira statements, the records will be there. So it gives you more visibility over your own business. It helps you to structure, this thing will help you to structure your business processes better because you can do proper accounting now. Then reduction in incidents of abuse or hoarding of currency. Some people hoard currency to the point that it begins to decay. We have seen so many of it on social media recently. Then if you're now using an accounting software, or you're automating your sales, through all these digital platforms, digital financial technology, it will make your selling process easier. But then we need to, address the disadvantage, the issues, some cons, like Osi said, affordable or available internet infrastructure. Many of the market hubs, they are not there. Without internet, how do we do digital? Then lack of training or knowledge or sensitization of this financial technology. A lot of banks, they have this Swift Pay, this one Pay, 737, 911, all those things, all those USSD. Not everybody there are even too many. Not only banks, even payment service banks, MTN, all these telcos, OPay, name them, Uda, many of them, they offer all of these things, products here and there, but how many people actually, or maybe because we have not paid attention, maybe because we are still comfortable with cash, but then people need to do more. The providers of this technology will need to do more to sensitize people. Then there's little notice period given. The notice period is too soon. 9th of January, we're just coming back from Christmas. Some of us will still have hangover. How do you expect us to start putting up like POS infrastructure, registering business? It's just too short. Maybe they should, extend the time, the commencement date. Then there's this little or no hiding place from tax authorities. For traders, it's a disadvantage, but for tax authorities, I'm sure they are laughing, they are smiling. Some of my big aunties from tax authorities are here, and I'm sure they will say something. I hope they are not smiling too much. Target achieved 2022, more taxes for me. So then I'll now talk about some of the taxes that you will be expected to pay if the tax authorities are now viewing or seeing your transactions online. These are the taxes that traders, businesses, but I'm being specific on traders now because this webinar is for them, are expected to pay actually. So in Nigeria, businesses are taxed according to how they are registered, majorly. So business names, sole proprietors, partnerships, or registered business, they are taxed like one. While companies or incorporated businesses, they are taxed like one. Limited liability companies, publicly listed entities, they have similar tax regimes. So for sole proprietors, partnerships, business names, like if you registered your business and you don't have shares, that means you're just a business name. That means your name is there on with CAC, you're an enterprise. That's how you'll be registered, not as a limited. So or sole proprietor, you're just doing your own thing. You're not even registered. These are the taxes that you'll be expected to pay. Applicable taxes. There's this personal income tax. We're going to talk about the taxes, where to make payment to, then frequency. How often should you pay this tax? So for personal income tax, it is called direct assessment. Also, it's taxed directly on the business owner or the sole proprietor or the partners. Many of the market hubs, the tax authorities will implement what they call presumptive tax regime. So in Lagos, I think they pay 8,100 for those small businesses in the market hubs. But then if your business is doing more volume, they will know. So you'll be subjected to proper personal income tax, which if you can pay it by yourself, you can go to etax.lrs.net to do it by yourself. So our next speaker, Folashade, will be talking about that presumptive tax taxation and how they do it in Lagos. I'm sure other states also have similar things. So for personal income tax, you pay once a year, you file also, you pay and file on etax.lrs.net. But for those people living in Lagos, other states will have their own platforms or manual, or they'll do it manually once a year before 30th March every year. Then you have the business premises levy. If you're operating a business in a place, you pay 5,000 naira. If you're under presumptive tax, I think the only thing they look at is personal income tax and then development levy of 100 naira. That's why in Lagos it's 8,100. 100 naira is for the development levy, while the 8,000 is for personal income tax. That's about 600 and something naira a month. So, but if you're not doing presumptive, if you're not paying that 8,001 because your business appears bigger, then you have to pay other taxes like I'm mentioning now: personal income tax, direct assessment as a sole proprietor or business name, business premises levy, 5,000, you pay it to the state. Personal income tax to the state, you pay once a year too. In January, development levy, you pay once a year. January, you pay to the state where you are resident or where your shop is. Then value-added tax is the one that has made waves, that the FRS was locking, freezing traders' bank accounts, just a few years ago, based on the volumes they are doing, and that they should come and pay value-added tax. Value-added tax is at 7.5% of your turnover, but you need to deduct your input tax. That is the tax you also paid on purchases. This is an issue for traders. We're going to discuss how to manage it at the end. So you pay to FRS, you pay every month, you file too, you pay and file tax. You file some documents, that's what you mean by filing. But online, they are doing it online now. So, but you still fill forms online. That's what we mean by filing. Then payment is the one you transfer money to them. So filing and paying is done at the same time. So every month, 21st, on or before the 21st of the next month, after you close the month, you file on or before 21st. If you close another month, you file that again before 21st of next month. So going on ahead, you have the one for employees. If you have, some traders have up to 50 employees actually in the market. So you need to pay PAYE, pay as you earn. This is for employees alone. So you pay to the state's internal revenue service where these employees are living. If all of them are living in Lagos, for instance, you file and pay at LIRS. You'll be filing through etax.lrs.net. Then you have, you pay PAYE every month on or before the 10th of the next month after salary payment. Then you file every year by January 31st. You also file again another one by 30th March or end of March. You have this withholding tax. When you have contract with suppliers, contract arrangements, and they're supplying you goods. Some supplies are not covered, withholding tax is not applicable. For instance, you're trading in goods in the market, you're buying, let's say shoes, you're trading in shoes, you're buying shoes because the shoe seller is selling, in the market is mostly cash transactions over the counter. So withholding tax may not really matter most, unless you're like trading outside of the market and you have suppliers like an accountant, let's say consultant that comes, they need to withhold tax from the money you're paying them. So if the person you're paying is a company, you pay to FRS. If the person you're paying is an individual, you pay to the state where the person is living. You pay this one too every month on or before the 21st of the month for the ones you did last the previous month. So you have other taxes like capital gains tax, employee compensation. Those ones are not really talked about. They're not really, just these ones I mentioned are the major ones. There are also some petty market taxes, local government, state government taxes, that are out there available, television license, all those things, billboards, lock-up shop, all those things. They are not, the amounts are not usually high. So, and I think the traders have found a way to go around all of these petty market taxes. Those ones are still there, but they are not the major ones. So talk about the major ones for sole proprietors. For businesses that are companies, incorporated business, if you have shares, let's say you are XYZ Limited, you are taxable under a different regime. So I forgot to mention that value-added tax will only apply when I talked about value-added tax, both for sole proprietors and business names and for companies. If you are not doing up to 25 million naira turnover every year, you don't pay value-added tax. You don't charge, you don't bother yourself with it. So you don't even need to register until you start making up to that 25 million naira turnover and above. Then for companies, that is XYZ Limited, you pay what they call, these are the taxes that you're subject to. So you pay companies income tax. This one replaces your personal income tax. That one was the one I mentioned there for individual sole proprietor, because you are still paying as a person. They say it's personal income tax, but this one you're paying as a company. So it's now called companies income tax. You get the difference. So for companies income tax, Magnus already mentioned it, 30% of your taxable profit actually, not turnover. For large companies doing over 100 million a year, for people doing between 25 million and 100 million, you pay 20%. And then for those doing less than 25 million, you don't pay anything. Then you pay to FRS, you pay and file on what they call Tax Pro Max, FRS Tax Pro Max. It's an online platform too. Then that's once a year, 6 months after your accounting year end. Or if you're just starting business, you pay 18 months after incorporation. You start paying every year. You must pay or file, whether you sold or not, or you don't sell. You file. If you're doing 25 million or less, you must submit. You must file, but you don't have to pay. This is different from VAT, where VAT you don't have to submit anything. You don't have to bother yourself. You don't have to pay. But for companies income tax, you have to file with your audited account or with your draft account for small companies. I think FRS is accepting draft account for small companies. You pay, and file, submit it once a year so that they will know that you're not making anything or you're making above 25 million, like that. So tertiary education tax is at 2.5% of the same profit that you charge company income tax on. So only companies that make less than 25 million a year in turnover, they don't have to pay this one. Then you pay to FRS, also file once a year on Tax Pro Max. Then you have this new one that came out just this year, National Police Trust Fund levy, 0.005% of net profit. For companies, you pay it to FRS, you pay at the same time you're filing CIT and then tertiary education tax, you pay once a year, 6 months after accounting year end. Then business premises levy, I've talked about it before. Businesses, companies, you pay per shop, per branch, per opening. It's 5,000 a year. You can pay in January when you're filing your income returns to the state, to LRS. The same thing, development levy for your employees. You pay for your employees development levy to the state where your employees, each 100 naira per employee. Then you also pay value-added tax if you're a company. The same principles applies. You pay to FRS. I've explained that before. You have the one for that you call capital gains tax. It's 10% tax rate on profits or gains from sale of chargeable assets. Chargeable assets are like fixed assets, motor vehicle, land, building, foreign currencies. You sell these things, they are seen as capital goods or assets. So you pay capital gains or tax, 10% of them. So you pay and file twice a year, by 30th June or 30th or 31st December, depending on when the transaction happened within the year. Then you have the ECA for employee compensation levy. Actually, for companies, because you're more structured, yes, you are seen to be more structured than the other ones. So you get to have more visibility with the tax authorities, and all these taxes tend to apply to you. So you have the employee compensation levy, replacing Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund. That is, they call it NSITF levy, 1% of payroll cost. You pay to NSITF through your bank. You pay once a year, 1% of payroll cost. You can pay every month, you can pay once a year. Then PAYE for your employees. Again, some traders have a lot of employees, so you pay. But if you fall under the presumptive tax, let's say you don't have, maybe you have only yourself and your brother or sister or your wife trading in the shop, and your shop is not like doing volumes or billions, you fall under the presumptive tax regime, which Folashade will explain. So everyone will come under that 8,100 for Lagos that you pay. Then if the tax authority later thinks that, this person is doing more than this 8,001, they will come again for you. So I've explained PAYE before so that we don't waste time, we'll just go ahead. Withholding tax too on people you have contracts of supplies, especially supplies of services. For supplies of goods, you need to check some things. whether it's done through a middleman or you bought directly from the person that trades in those goods. If you are buying directly from the person, let's say like in the market, you don't have to be toll tax. It's over the counter. It's in the ordinary course of business. But if, like, let's say a Shell gives a contract to say, go and buy television or buy supply snacks, it's done through a middleman. So withholding tax will apply to the middleman. So that's how it is. But let's not complicate issues. Just be focused on contracts of service, people that render you service, not just a repairman that comes to repair your chairs. That one is not visible. So withholding tax is not really high, or should I say emphasized in the market. So it's just other taxes. You also have stamp duty, which Magnus pointed out, which is on every dutiable transaction, documents, they're available, they have different rates too. Stamp duty, you also pay online through the stamp duty website. You pay to FRS. So I've explained that there are other market taxes too, those ones are there. So that's just highlights of taxes. Then we have, not to waste time, we have this ebook too. Sorry that I'm bringing it up, but it's really very elaborate and insightful for those who need knowledge of taxes that actually apply to micro, small, and medium enterprises in Nigeria. It also applies to large businesses who are in the informal sector. In fact, this book applies to everyone except for publicly PLCs. Even those PLCs, let's just leave them out. But every other person, you need to know the taxes. The contents of the book, as you can see here, is very comprehensive. You have MSME statistics in Nigeria. You have legal framework for businesses. How can you be registered as a business name, as a partnership? Why would you go for this kind of registration? You know, as an SME, what are you doing? To explain to you, if you're doing this or doing that, you need to register as business name and all that. These are the implications. Then the book also highlights taxes payable by business names, individuals, explains it in details, highlight the one payable by or not payable by people making 25 million or less. And the companies too, just like I've explained now, it explains tax registration, the concept of tax identification. How do you register for tax? How do you get a TIN? What does it do? What is the implication of TIN? Then talks about tax filing versus tax payment. What do they imply? It talks about tax clearance certificates. What is it? How is it done? How do you go about it? Why do you need it? And all the taxes we talk about to now teach you how to do it step by step. Okay, this is what you do to be able to know the VAT you pay or not pay, the things that are VATable or not, all the comprehensive list, everything is in the ebook. And I don't think it's more than 50 pages actually, and it's written in clean bold font. So anybody can be reading it during the weekend. So that you can get it from, it's a digital book, ebook. So you get it from vm.com/ebookstores. Here's the address there, vm.com/ebookstore. Magnus, please help me put it in the chat box just in case anyone wants to go to the link. vm.com/ebookstore. I get the book here and also some other ebooks too on taxes. So how can traders manage taxes? I'm taking some time. Apologies, everyone. So how can traders manage taxes? Always collect VAT invoice. Always collect VAT invoice when buying goods. There's this issue of they didn't give me VAT invoice. There's one of my customers in the market that was complaining and saying some of them who are small, not big merchants, you have to queue up to buy from the big merchants. And when you go there and you're even asking them for tax invoice, they'll be like, this one is not serious to buy goods. Let us attend to those who are rushing to pick up goods from us. So it's a challenge. Also, another challenge which I also expected Magnus or OC to talk about, I don't know whether this one has ceased to be a challenge now, is that in the market, the prices of goods are known. Let's say you're dealing in spare parts or cosmetics or stationaries. There's this, like, it's known now across even stationaries. Let's leave stationaries out of it because it's not VATable. But other things that are VATable, you have this price of these sneakers. So you can't particularly change your own price because you're adding VAT, unless every other person is taking cognizance of VAT in their own price, even when you're buying the goods, to be able to buy, with the VAT invoice. So these things need to be agreed by the trade unions. I'm happy that someone like OC is here. They need to check so that everyone in the market is on the same page about this value-added tax, because it's not going away. Then you have to keep proper accounting records, separate incomes from other monies you're receiving in the bank account, so that you can be able to explain it away to the tax authority that, no, you cannot tax me on this one because it's not income. This is what it is. This is my account. Even if it's draft account that you just print out from your desktop account. There are some accounting software that do not cost more than 200,000. You can use it for 3 years. There are some that will take you up to like 350, depending on the complexity of what you're doing. But some of them have become very, very easy and affordable now. And a number of them will even work without internet. When you go home, you can sync your transactions for the day. But it also has some, in that internet is really, really very important actually for you to use accounting software very well for people who have like 2 or 3 shops, so that when they are selling from the shop, it's reporting immediately on the other shops, something like that. So it's a kind of challenge, but you start somewhere. Then you also do other payment channels, learn about them, talk to your banker, teach me this, which other products do people have? So bankers need to be up and doing now. Other fintech companies need to be up and doing. Then your people who write manual invoice, I'm thinking that you can convert them to account assistants now or hire interns. If you think it's too expensive to start doing, it's not. So once you deploy accounting software, the person that does it for you will train your people there. Those ones that are writing manual invoice, you start doing system invoice. You don't need to write again. They can use that energy that they are writing, half of it, to issue system invoice and do bank reconciliation for you on a daily basis. So then learn about taxes, so that you can be able to plan around them, so that you don't pay too much, or you avoid as much. If you learn about taxes, you can be able to do things legitimately to avoid them rather than evading like is happening now. Then also learn how to pay tax or file your tax through Tax Pro Max or through online platforms, like in Lagos State is etax.lrs.net. Stop bribing tax authorities. It backfires all the time. And they will keep coming after you, because anytime they are hungry, like this Christmas season now, they will remember you. You might even find out that you pay more bribing them than the actual tax you should pay, and rest is. Then I think I skipped the do bank reconciliation. They do your reconciliations of, if you're using bank transfers eventually, or POS or e-Naira or you need to do it often. Let's say on a daily, if your volumes are big, you're doing large volumes, you need to reconcile often, so that the accounting is not messed up, and so that you can track those who are owing, those who are paid. It's a lot easier when you're doing those things digitally and doing them manually and calculating as keep it, as Timo paid, and all that. So then it will take some time, some cumbersomeness, some fear. How this thing work? That is just the fear of technology that is holding us back. But once you get into it, you find out that it makes your life very, very easy. You can even be at home. You don't have to be going to the market every day and be seeing what they are doing, because you have the app, you have your accounting software app, and you're seeing what they are doing for the day. And the prices are on the system. You don't have to cram the prices, or you'll be there, or got how much for this one, and you say the price from your head. Those things used to amaze me. So you can do it from the system. They will see the pricing, they are already there calculated for you. You can't make a loss. You set your profit percentage. But we're not talking about accounting software, and I'm just highlighting them so that we don't waste time. Then you pay and file tax as and when due. Sorry about that, but that's just it. If you get to know it and practice it, it becomes easier with time. Especially if you're paying from, like VAT that is not affecting your income. It's just that the market mechanism, if they charge you VAT, you claim it back. You charge customer. It's us who are customers in the market that have to pay the VAT, but it's not affecting your profit, not affecting your turnover, as long as you charge it back to customers. You claim what you paid when buying and you charge cost. So it's not that one. If you just learn it, you know that it's not that kind of, it's not such a big headache, except that you have to file it to FRS every month. Then for company income tax and personal income tax, based on profit. If you don't make profit, don't pay tax. If you're not selling and you're not making gains, you cannot pay tax. You just show them proof that see my account, nothing they here, not loss I they make. You can't pay tax on losses, only profit. So when you have that mindset, that kind of mindset, it makes it easier for you to pay tax. And hopefully, let's just pray that a new government that will help us, to do the right things will come on board. Then you can see, okay, this is where my money is going. If I pay it, they will use it well. Then presumptive tax, market tax, I've explained it before. So I'm now going to wrap up and let Folashade take us through that presumptive tax regime. Fola, sorry for keeping you so long. Sorry. So Folashade Koka is Director of Informal Sector and Special Duties, Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. And she's going to be taking us through taxation of the informal sector in Lagos State via the Ibile Hub. So she will explain it well for us to know. For those small businesses in the market who are worried about tax, she will tell you what will happen, what they do, what the kind of taxes they collect. Fola, you're welcome. Please take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. I think before I go on, there's a message for you to please, if you can allow Mr. Olumide to have his questions as he needs to go for another meeting. Okay. So maybe I can cede the floor to him for now.
No, Olumide has actually gone off, so carry on. You have to leave.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. As rightly said, my name is Folashade Koka. I'm a staff of Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. I'm the director of the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, informal sector and special duties. So a lot has been said. You've heard from the banker, you've heard from the tax consultant, and you've heard from Mr. Magnus in Trade Fair. I think it's Mr. Magnus or Mr. Osita. So yes, Mr. Osita. So my job is to look at the base of the pyramid, which would likely be more affected by the CBN policy, and to do a deep dive into the taxes that they would be required to comply with. So the reality of life is that change is a constant, and every sector of the world or the country would continuously go through evolution with a view to meeting ease of doing business and to have all aspects of the country come into government regulations and under government scrutiny. So this would continue to happen as time goes by, because ease of doing business is key. And according to the World Bank, you have only 45% of the working adults having their transactions operated within a financial institution. This means that 55% of the others fall outside the financial institution and government radar. So they are not captured maybe by the BVN or the NIN and all that. So they operate using point of sales, the POS, and also those that were also spoken about as to hoarding money either in their shops, in their houses and all that. So now that there's a currency change and also a limit to what they can withdraw or what they can deposit, how does this impact them on the tax level? So Lagos State has what is called a presumptive tax. And I was listening to Mr. Osita speaking on engagements and all that. So maybe I can use trade fair as a litmus test, because there's a lot of engagements going on right there now. You have all kinds of traders there. You have those that fall under the presumptive tax of the H1. So what has Lagos State done? Lagos State has created what is called the Ibile application. Ibile is an acronym for the different divisions of Lagos. That's the Ikorodu, Badagry, Ikeja, Lagos Island, and Nepe, to create an app. And this app is a mobile app and is deployed to every market. So you remember or recall that I spoke about ease of doing business. So what Lagos State Internal Revenue Service has tried to do is to bring tax payment closer to the people. So we've realized that most market traders do not want to leave their wares for even 5 minutes, because they will believe that within that 5 minutes, they might have lost a transaction or lost a potential client. So we've realized this and we decided, okay, let's go into the market space. Let's bring the application there and then let's have them do their tax payments quickly and go back to their business. So the Ibile application is deployed in a lot of markets. We have artisan associations that schedule timetables and we go into their space, looking at their different locations. So let's use the Plank Association, for example. Plank Association is spread all over Lagos State, but they've done a timetable that we can go there at a specific day or week in the month. And then we're able to enumerate and assess and have pay all their members. And once that is done, they become tax compliant, they are given their cards, and they can go about their business without standing up from their shops. So that's ease of doing business. Also for that level of the people that are with cake clamps and just doing trading from a tray, those are the ones that fall properly under the presumptive tax of the 8-1. So you can also pay on installments. So what does this have to do with this CBN policy? It's the sense that if you have to pay 8-1 and you can pay in installments, that means that even if you are withdrawing 20,000 every day and you have other things to do with it, you can pay like 1,000 a day, or you can pay 500 a day until you net off all your 8,001. So I don't see it impacting that level of people that much, because we've already seen this day coming and we've created that level of ease, going to their stalls and having them also pay in installments. Then those at a bit higher of that pyramid, those are the ones that fall under direct assessment. So this Ibile application is also available for them because they can also pay via that. But the 8,001 would not avail them because, one, we look at the fact that you would have either rented your shop or you would have bought that shop. So that is income. That is also already giving us an idea of the type of income that you have. And again, what are you stocking in the business? And then what employees do you have? So they will definitely fall under the direct assessment. So for them, payment is also available on the Ibile application. Then we have what is called the enterprise tax. That's the e-tax portal created by the LRS also to bring ease into tax payments. So we can generate bills for you on the Ibile app, and you can go to the bank and do a transfer. You can also go to the bank to do your payments. But if it's going to large volumes that exceed the 20,000 per day or 100,000 per week, then you would have to then do what is called an e-transfer. You can also avail yourself of the mobile banking. There's the PAGA, there's the USSD, as has been rightly said by the consultant and Madam Victoria here, that you have different options of payment. So it's just time to look into the options and see the one that is fit for purpose. And in doing that also to ensure that they are rightly guided by financial regulations and institutions, so that you don't go on an app that will definitely harness your accounts and thereby take advantage of that. So yes, less income or cash is accessible to people, but for us as tax authority, it gives us a paper trail. Now you cannot under-declare to a large extent because there's a paper trail. You are paying through the banks. Your staffs are going to be paid through your accounts. So there's that paper trail that would help us be able to hopefully move away from a best of judgments, and then we'll be able to use your financials to be able to determine exactly what you owe. Then I had the consultant saying that, if your turnover is below this and that you can tell the taxman that you cannot entertain them. The only way you can tell a taxman that you cannot entertain them is by having your books of record, your income and expenditure at the list, and then showing them that your turnover through that is below 25 million. but not that, oh, they just come and you say, oh, see my shop. A shop can be deceptive because there are lots of outsourcing and a lot of other things. You might have other branches, but your accounting will be able to tie all these loose ends and be able to give us an holistic picture of what your income and expenditure is. And we will now be able to profile on that. And I'm sure that with that, we will stop having a lot of spurious or best of judgments, because people will now be able to assess taxpayers based on their actual income. Then you should also know that with this, your domestic staff would also be captured, because you'll definitely be paying your driver, your security, your house help, and all that through your accounts. So you should know that you should now separate your personal income through a bank account. You should have one specific for business, so that the two don't get muddled up and thereby increase your tax obligations. Yes, we've spoken about, the other speakers have spoken about who is going to be impacted. We know that we have a lot of people that do cash transactions, but we are hoping that they would also come to the knowledge that this is an evolution and things have to transit. Yes, there's going to be a lot of teething problem with people having transactions that are done via the POS or ATM or transfers, and that would not reflect immediately. But I'm hoping that everybody and every institution would rise up to the occasion and be able to create something that is close to seamless for the individuals that work in this economy. And they are the largest, because by the World Bank report, there are 70% of the working adults in the informal sector. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to harness that and be able to create bespoke tools of payment that would create ease for these market women and men to transit. But for us as taxpayers and tax authority, it's easy for us now. It's going to be a lot easier. Like the trade fair now, we will be able to assess people. They'll be able to bring their books of records, their statements of accounts, and with that, and you've also said it, that people will be taxed according to their profit. So it is not about your capital. You'll be able to separate your capital properly from your profits, and profits will be taxed. And then your direct assessment, you'll be assessed based on that. And I believe that we will give the required support. We have the bille agents in the market every day. You can call them. They are ready and available to assist. We have 40 mini tax stations in the markets also. We also have 40 tax stations spread across the state. And then we have the head office alongside the bill application, alongside the e-tax enterprise, where you can generate your bills and pay without leaving the confines of your stores. So I think with this, it's a good start, and we have been proactive enough to have prepared for this day. And we have the help desk also. There is a customer care help desk, and you can be transferred to any of the directorates that can give you specific answers to the questions that you need answered. And you can also walk into the head office and meet any of the directors where they are available. But for me, I'm in the markets virtually most days, working through all the markets. So as we come to your markets, we'll definitely see you. So not to waste too much time, I think I'll close on this, because I know that a lot of people would have questions to ask. So you must also ensure that you file your returns. And it's also been said that whether you have profit or not, you need to file. You can file a nil profit, but you need to file your returns. You need to file your returns for those on companies or employees between the 1st of January to the 31st of March. If you are in the business space, in the markets and all that, you have from the 1st of January to the 31st of March to file your returns. So please take advantage of this time, make inquiries, and be good to go with this cashless policy that has come to stay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Fola, for that robust explanation. We really appreciate it. So in order not to spend more time, we're going into the questions and answer section now, please. If you have any questions, Olutoyin Aro, she was raising hands for some time, but I think she's no longer there. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, Mrs. Titi Fooko, one of my big aunties, she's here now. She wants to say something. Please go ahead. Hold on.
Okay, while we're waiting for Mrs. Fooko to come online, I think she needs to be admitted because I don't think participants can talk directly. There are two questions that have come in on the question and answer box. One of the questions is also from Mrs. Fooko, and the question is, business premises levy and development levy is not the same amount as 5,000 and 100 naira respectively in all the states. How do you advise the SMEs to handle this? I don't know, Mrs. Cook, are you able to fill this question for us?
Yes. Okay, so for Lagos State Development Levy, I think for the past 25, 30 years has been 100 naira per person per year. So that is how much it is in Lagos State. And then I know that the development levy and the business premise levy, it's 10,000 for the first year and then 5,000 for subsequent years. And I know that it's also different in other states. So there's nothing that I can say. Each state charges as bespoke to their laws and the revenue authorities' requirements. So what I'll just say is that for everybody working or trading or doing business within the MSMEs, you need to know what laws, what taxes, what levies, what dues, what fines, what charges are expected of you on an annual basis. Because I found out in this business that a lot of people mix up fines, levies, dues, and charges and say, oh, there's double taxation. But you need to know. So if you have a property that you built for the business, then you will have to pay land use charge. But where you are renting, you may not have to pay land use charge because it's the owner of the property that would pay the land use charge. Where you have a traffic offense, you may have to pay a fine. But where there's no traffic offense, so you need to know the laws, the tax laws guiding and governing your type of business. And that's what you've been run through, the VAT requirements, the education tax and all that. So just know the taxes due wherever you are operating within the country, and then know the amounts also due for those, and you'll be good to go. Thank you. I hope this answers the question, Dr. Fooko.
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have the floor now?
Yes. Please,
okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Vivian and Magnus. Thank you for the good work you're doing. Really appreciate this. I just want to mention something for our SMEs because they need to also understand the issue about their business assets. I'm not sure if that was covered in the presentation we made, because some of them have assets they use for both business and personal private use. And the law makes provision for how this would be, relief can be given to them on this. So I think they need to also have a basic knowledge of this, and it will be good for the tax consultants or whoever is advising them to also give them some guidance, because a lot of times they look at it and it looks as if it's only their income that will be taxed, but they get some other reliefs also, which on the business side can be used to bring down what they're going to pay as taxes to the government. I just felt this is also an area they would be interested in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Thank you for that observation. So indeed, the business assets can help. So if you have, but mostly these traders, they have, they operate in market hubs, so they don't have land building, except for those of them who operate outside of the market. So it's mostly like computers, furniture, shelves and all that they have. But then these are subject to what we call capital allowance. So you can claim what we call capital allowance on the value of your assets. So you can claim them to reduce your income. Of course, when we say taxable profit, it means it's profit that is taxable. So your income is different from your profit. Your profit is after you have removed expenses and other allowable deductions. We call them allowable deductions. So before you can get to profit. And there is what we call taxable profit that you arrive at based on the provisions of the tax law on what you can deduct, the expenses you can deduct, the capital allowances on your fixed assets that you can deduct, other allowable deductions, exemptions, incentives, if there are any, then you arrive at what we call taxable profit. That is what you apply the tax on. Thank you. Mrs. Walker, do you still want to say something?
So just to put that comment into perspective, so we, for want of time, we may not be able to cover everything, and we also appreciate the fact that no two businesses are the same. They've got different assets, and each of those assets may have different calculations and different implications for business. So what I would advise any of the participants who's looking to take advantage of this is to contact Vivian or VM Professional Solutions, and we'll be able to speak directly to your needs and then be able to advise you specifically as to what are those statutory reliefs and allowances that your peculiar business can take advantage of. That said, there's one more question here from Dorcas James. The question reads, good morning. What's the current moratorium available for a limited liability company?
So, okay, I can take that question, but I don't think it's fully asked. But my understanding is, okay, what are the allowances, that can be given to a limited liability? So, moratorium is mostly about loans and paying back and all that, but moratorium means grace period. So grace period is for how long can you stay without paying tax? So there's no grace period actually. Once you incorporate your company, starting from 18 months after the incorporation, you will be expected to start filing and paying taxes. If you're not making anything or you're still making less than 25 million, you need to file, but you are not expected to pay, but you have to attach your financial accounts to show how much you're making. So that 18 months would be what the 12 months, let's say in a financial year, it's typically made up of 12 months. Then after that, you have 6 months after year end to tidy up your accounts, pay or file back. So it adds up to the same 18 months for newly incorporated companies. If you have not started business, you just incorporated on paper, then you just need to notify the tax authority by filing that you have not started, that this business has not started. You just file statement of affairs. Statement of affairs show, okay, I just incorporated this business, just shares, nothing else exists in this business. You've not started, no income started. So that will give them an idea that you would have of what you're doing, and that the fact that you're not taxable at the moment, and then you would have also fulfilled your tax obligations. So I hope that answers the question. Then also for VAT purposes, you also have this grace period. If you're not making up to 25 million annual turnover yet, then that's counting from beginning of the year. Actually, the tax authority, they have their own view. Whenever you start making up to 25 million in any year, you then continue paying and filing. But before then, you have the grace period not to charge VAT, not to pay, not to file. Okay. So hope that answers the question.
Yeah. So, any other question, anyone? We're running out of time.
Seriously.
Yes, we have also posted in the chat room the email address so to contact us. So it's clients@vi-m.com. Should you have any peculiar concern, or you require any assistance, or you require any advisory support, or you need to reach out to the firm, please feel free to contact us via clients@vm.com. Sending that to the general chat room now.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. I think it's high time we close because people are going back to business. Even traders here in Lagos, their sanitation ends by 10. So apologies once again for the time taken. Closing remarks, this is us saying thank you for joining us on this webinar. It's not easy to call people and then people come out, and to attend, especially we're entering the Christmas period. We're already in the Christmas season. So people have a number of things to do. Even us, we still have to rush out after this webinar to go pick up our kids from school. And I'm sure many people are also experiencing the same Christmas rush. So we thank you so much for being here. We're going to we've recorded this webinar and we're going to upload it to YouTube. We did today or tomorrow morning at the very latest. So you can always go back and replay it. If you have missed any point, you can always go back and replay it. This is VM Professional Solutions, and we're a tax audit and advisory services firm. So if you need any consultation on how to do your tax planning, your accounting, anything, so advice about this new CBN policy and how you can structure your business so that it will not affect you too negatively, rather you take advantage of it to improve your business processes, we're available for a chat or at your convenience. You can do virtual meeting, physical meetings, wherever you are. So thank you very much, everyone. Magnus, please, your closing remarks.
So thank you, all attendees. Thank you, Mrs. Coker, for joining us. Thank you, Madam Falco, for also supporting this session. We also thank Olumide, who has also gone off, and Osita Bibi, Osita of Balogun Traders Association of the Trade Fair. He actually sent in a private message saying he's on his way to the East. I think he's going to spend Christmas. So we appreciate the time taken. It's been a very insightful morning. I just want to advise that let us all just relax. It's a new policy. It's going to take a toll on us, but trust me when I say Nigerians, we're one of the most adaptive people. We're going to adapt quickly to it, and we are going to find our way around it. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I pray and hope for the best this season. Happy holidays in advance. Thank you.
Happy holidays. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Compliments of the season. Bye for now.
Bye.